All right. Welcome into the rant. Oh, man, my light is too bright again. Ugh. Is it sketchy? Hey, chat room, I need you in the chat room real quick because been having some connection issues around here. I know we got a light issue. I like it a little bit more warm. There we go. Little warmer light on me here. Chat room, is this all sketchy? Like, in other words, is it breaking up? Or does it seem like we got a pretty good stream going on here? I just need to know because I was having some issues earlier today. All right, so far everything seems to be okay. We got Adam in the chat room. Hi, Adam. We've got CC. We've got Peter. Sorry, Sports Bras. Check them out. Follow them at Sports Bras. Need to build up their numbers. Let's go. Come on, people. Need to build up these numbers. What am I talking about? I didn't mean that as a shot against CC and the boys. No, not at all. This whole game is about numbers. Taranda's here. She's telling me it sounds good. Byron says it sounds good. All right, very good. Had a little bit of an issue there with earlier today. I was recording stuff. And what? Oh, you know what? We're going to have the weird lighting thing going on today. Well, okay, so here's the deal. Let's get started. Welcome to the Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. We do this every day, Monday through Friday, right about noon. It's current events talk, hot topics. I give you hot takes. It's just talk radio, the way talk radio I think it should be, without any sort of particular political partisan lens. I don't give a shit about your Republican lifestyle or your left-leaning weirdness. You're all a bunch of crazies. This show is for the normal people, the 70% of us who know it's election day and really just want it to be over, even though we do know, because we're not the stupid ones. We're the 70. We know this ain't even about to be over. We know this is going to go on now for another couple of months. The hell, this could stretch all the way into January 20th, for fuck's sake, and beyond. It's America's prom. That's what we're experiencing today. It's the Super Bowl, really. It's Super Bowl Tuesday. That's what elections in this country have become. It's a sporting event. It's not about civic duty. It's not about thoughtful comprehension of what is facing this and us as a society. No, it's about your team. I got to tell you, tonight, yes, of course I'll be watching it because I'm a news junkie. And there's going to be all kinds of things for me to make fun of. But, man, this is like watching an NFC title game between, like, the Packers and the 49ers for me. It's like I don't want either one of these teams to have any particular joy. There is one team, however, that is a little bit – there is one team in that scenario that, if you know me, I want to see lose more than the other. But I'm certainly not invested in the celebration or the good times. So it's just a nothing. I hate what politics have done to this country. I used to like politics. I used to like politics as a kid. I used to like having a conversation with smart, thoughtful people about the world and our differences and all that. Not anymore. We can't do that anymore. Now it's all just, now we got dudes with guns at polling stations. They're taking it upon themselves to become security, election security. Okay. So I'll be happy when it's over, but I know, and you know, you smart people know, it ain't gonna be over for a while. Gone are the days when you could turn into bed around 11:45 at night on an election eve knowing who the president was going to be in the morning. Those days are fucking over, man. Never again. It's always, well, maybe sometime early December after a judge rules, then maybe we'll have some idea of. So happy America's prom, everybody. It's a big day for us around these parts. Big day. But yeah, so there's going to be some lighting issues here because usually I have the static American flag behind us because we love this country on this show, because normal Americans are allowed to love this country, not just weirdos who feel like they need to enter every room with some fucking symbol of this country preceding them. Like my giant eagle hat, because I love America. No, fuck you. That's weird. You're pimping out the symbolism that makes this country great. The rest of us, the 70% of us, we like America. And that's why I have a flag. I proudly display the flag every day here because I love America. And also this problem. When I have things that are moving, then the light on my face changes and it's weird. So I needed something static and I figured, what the fuck, why not a flag? Today we're not doing a flag. Here's why we're not doing a flag. We're just gonna stream some live news on YouTube, only because it's America in 2024 and it's an election day. And God only knows what kind of breaking news could just happen behind us. So I'd like to at least be a little bit plugged into what's going on around the world today. This show, by the way, is not going to be all about the election. It's not. If the show for the past couple of years hasn't been all about the election. I try to resist that stuff. We got a bunch of other stuff to distract us. But what are your plans, chat room? Are you guys doing, is this like I'm going to watch. Of course I'm going to watch. Because as Barbara in the chat room says, it's the greatest damn show on earth. I'm going to watch people say, I'm trying to keep receipts. Like I've checked a bunch of tweets from people, like really cocky people. I'm trying to keep receipts, both sides. I got people on both sides making these outlandish claims about how it's going to end up. Somebody's going to be upset. What was it? It was Bill Maher, I think. Bill Maher, who, by the way, if you're like me, I used to like the Bill Maher show. I used to love Politically Incorrect in the 90s. I thought that was a great show. And then I liked his HBO show. And then a couple of years ago, probably about 5-6 years ago, I stopped watching Bill Maher altogether. I just couldn't take it anymore. I think it was part of my unplugging of the political, conversation, where I just didn't want to be a part of it anymore because I was so tired of just people like Bill Maher. Oh, you're so witty. That was such a witty retort to that problem. But it's not a solution. Ha ha. You got to laugh. Isn't that great? You hear what Bill Maher said? And now I'm going to repeat it, and people are going to think I'm witty too. I just got sick and tired of all of the bullshit of people just trying to cut each other down. So I pulled out of Bill Maher. That's what she said. Wait, no, that doesn't work. So I pulled out of watching Bill Maher about 5-6 years ago. And then just a couple of months ago, I went back. He said it pretty well. He said that tomorrow, 50% of the country are going to wake up thinking it was either the most perfect election imaginable or democracy is completely in the gutter and, we failed as a nation and it's over and whatever. And a fix is in and nobody's satisfied. Anyway, it's crazy. Hey, look at this. We got Jeffy Glenn in the chat room. You know it's going to be a good day when Jeff Glenn, the chat room groundhog, sticks his head out and says, "Do I see my shadow?" Yeah, Byron knows. Byron says, leave it to election day to wake up the great Jeff Glenn. Barney wants to know if I am trashing his America hat. No, because America hat would be an ironic social satire piece, novelty garb. I don't mock anything coming out of my boys. Look, we're all good. The chat room is good. You are all reasonable people. We are all reasonable people in the chat room who come from different political ideologies, different worldviews, shaped and formed by our individual life experiences. We are not supposed to hold having different life experiences against one another. We're supposed to learn from one another and grow and evolve. And that's what this chat room is about. Jeff says Barbara was talking about my show. Was she? Well, good. Well, good. I appreciate that, Barb. Isn't that nice? Jeff Ballard says he's going to play Fortnite today, then watch Christmas movies with the wife and kids. We've started the Santa Claus movie franchise. Going to keep the kids out of the election process. I get that. I mean, I grew up in a house, but again, it was the 70s and 80s where I was like basically forced to watch this shit play out. like I was forced to watch election coverage. And I don't know, forced is probably the wrong word. I think I grew up in a very political family. My grandparents were very politically connected in Chicago in the 1970s. They were very active. Yeah, I was forced to watch all that stuff. But Jeff brings up an interesting point. If you got kids, is it the same? Is it the same? Like if I got like a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, is this history? Yes, it is history. Do you want to expose your children to history in real time? Yes, absolutely. And you want them to be sure, you want to be sure they understand that they're witnessing history in real time. Sure. That's probably the reason that, the grown-ups in my life made me watch all that stuff as a kid. I don't know if that's good for them in 2024. I don't know if we're living in the same kind of world. Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill used to drink beers at night in the White House. They didn't hate each other. They hated each other on the 530 network news. But Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan were friends. We're not there anymore. The political process has been broken. It's been because we started demonizing each other. The divisiveness, I talk about it all the time. The divisiveness. Anyway, so we'll touch on the election today, but mostly I got a whole bunch of distracting stuff. I got a whole bunch of celebrity stuff, whole bunch of celebrities doing stupid shit. So we'll talk about that. April is in the chat room. My girl April's in the chat room. Says Jeff Glenn. It's good to see you. Yeah, it is good to see Jeff Glenn. What else do we need to mention? Oh, yeah, that's right, folks. It does need to be mentioned every day. We have an executive producer of this here show. Thank you so much to people who tip. The show runs on your tips. The show runs for 3 years now. Current events without political bias. Just real talk with real people from all different kinds of ideologies. And we call each other stupid and we move on. And then a second later, we're all laughing together about somebody else being stupid because that's how humans are designed to interact with one another. Not take everything so personal. Not everybody's a mortal enemy. The show is done by me, Pugs Moran, performed as a stream of consciousness. That's just one guy, me, talking without any breaks, without any commercials, without any songs. No bathroom. Okay, sometimes I'll take a bathroom break. Sometimes. We do it in 4 quarters. It's not just a straight up ramble as it's been for the last 10 minutes or so. It's not just that. It's actually a show designed to keep you prepped up on everything that's happening today. I'm going to talk about all the hot topics, the current events, but I'm also going to give you more than that. We break the show down into 4 quarters. The first is called Antecedently on This Day. It's this day in history. The second is birthdays. Quarter 2, birthdays. They were born on this day. Happy birthday or fuck you. That's what we do on quarter 2. Quarter 3. Quarter 3 is deaths, people who died on this day. We run through a list of famous people who passed away on this day. And where did they go? Did they ascend to heaven or were they banished to hell? That's quarter 3. First 3 quarters run by pretty quick. At least I try to make it that way. Usually about 40 minutes of total show time. The bulk of the show comes in quarter 4 when we get into all the hot topics, current events, and distractions, as the case may be today. What was I saying? That's the 4 quarters. The show runs on your tips and your gratuities. It has been doing this for 3 years. Every day, the executive producer of the show is named. That person is the person who tipped the show the best on the previous day's show. So if you tip the show today and you are the biggest tipper of the show, tomorrow you are the executive producer, and that hat falls on Cam. Cam is today's executive producer. Also, thank you to Byron. Byron is a badass too. But thank you to Cam. Just by a smidge. We are in the middle of a pledge week. That means once a week during a month, or once 1 week during the month, I beg like a goddamn loser. And I appreciate you indulging me, but this is where we try and shake that cup and get as much money to keep supporting what we call traditional talk radio. If you support this kind of talk radio, please drop a little something in the Venmo. Drop a little something in the Cash App. That's how we fund the show. It's been working for 3 years. We got 2 shows to raise like 100 and what's the number? I don't know, but I hate talking about it. So we're going to move on. I'm going to leave that up there, and I'm going to be eternally grateful to Cam, but not just Cam, all you guys who step up and drop a little something. Thank you so much, especially you consistent dudes. Cams, I'm not going to name any names. I can't do that. Woo! Because I will leave a name out, and then I will realize that I left a name out, and then I will be crushed. So thank you to everybody who helped support this show in year 3 now. All right, let's get started. It is the High Noon Rant. My name is, did I lose everything? Did I fucking lose everything? Hold on. Ba-ba-da-ba-bum-bum. Hold on, guys. Oh, that's right. I had to restart the show, so I did lose everything. Well, I didn't lose everything. That's a bit dramatic. Here, I just got to do something real quick, guys. Close the page that I shouldn't have closed because it's a page that we use to drive the show. It's my Google Drive that I accidentally closed. Oh, hold on. James Parker hit me up. James Parker, WBAP afternoons 2 to 5. Are you listening to him? You should. Oh, boy. Oh, big breaking radio news. Holy shit. All right, well, there we have it. That sucks. Sorry, got some local radio news, some business news. It's not important. It's not anything I'd share here. But James Parker of WBAP just shared some breaking radio news. Some radio management guys got laid off. You don't know them, but they're radio management guys. So James was sharing that information with me. All right, let's see here. Let's get into it. It is the Rant. It is election day here in America. It is election day here in America, the 5th day of November, 2024. Tuesday, election day. It is the 279th day of the year. Did you know that? But you didn't. 279 pages have been torn off your calendar and lay in the waste basket below. You know what that means? 87 days until New Year's Eve, bitches. Let's go. 87 days to New Year's Eve. You know I'm not going to do anything on New Year's Eve. I haven't done anything on New Year's Eve in 15 years. I've spent every New Year's Eve with my son, save for one, since he was born. And in protest on the one New Year's Eve I didn't get to spend with him, I just sat in a closet, a darkened room, and just waited for the night to pass because it didn't exist. I used to love New Year's Eve. Anyway, let's move on. Quarter one is first up because it's quarter one. We call it antecedently on this day. What's that? That's a fancy way of saying this day in history, or if you will, previously on November the 5th. Here we go. Antecedently on this day. Let's see here. On this day, antecedently in the year 1905, the Wright brothers. These fucking Wright brothers bullshit. Wright brothers pilot the Wright Flyer 3. In a new world record flight of 24 miles and 39 minutes. Wright brothers. Again, what's my take on the Wright brothers? Stop it. They're not so great. They did something first. That's what it was. They did it first. You want to be great? Be the only to do something. Don't be first. First just means that there were a whole bunch of people trying to figure it out and you got lucky. And that's cool. And that deserves some level of distinction, Wright brothers, but not to the extent that we've extolled upon you. You were just first. There was a guy over in Germany who was like a week behind you. Wright brothers, get out of here. Antecedently on this day in 1938 during the Holocaust. I probably should I should probably work the tone a little bit here. I'm not shit talking the Wright brothers anymore. We've moved on to serious subject matter, the Holocaust. Nazi Germany, Jews' passports are invalidated on this day in 1938. If they didn't get out already, then they ain't getting out. Antecedently on this day in 1962. Oh, look at this. This is 1962. Crushing it on this day. Two very, very big things were released for the first time. It's pretty big. On this day, English. Big day for the English. Oh, my goodness. Big day for English entertainers. Let's put it that way. On this day in 1962, the very first James Bond film is released. Dr. No. Dr. No released on this day. The exact same day that Love Me Do, the Beatles' first single, is released. Holy cow! Look at that. James Bond and the Beatles debuted on the same day, this day in 1962. That's a big day for the UK. Culturally speaking, as far as your contributions, that's a big day. Antecedently on this day in 1970, public broadcasting is founded. PBS is founded for the first time in 1970. Just now realizing that I'm older than PBS, and that doesn't make me feel happy. Always assumed election calls on election day. That was an election call. Are we supposed to be getting election calls on election day? Thought they were supposed to stop last night. I don't know. Antecedently on this day in 1982, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I remember this. And this is funny because this has a hangover. This has a big hangover for me. On this day in 1982, Tylenol products are recalled after bottles in Chicago had been laced with cyanide, causing 7 deaths. I said there's a hangover on this for me. This is a big deal as a little kid when this was going on. Don't take Tylenol. I still don't take Tylenol. Still don't take Tylenol. I'm an ibuprofen guy. Give me some of that. Give me some of that Profen. Don't give me that Tylenol crap. People die. It was like 40 years ago. I'm still like, people die from that. All right, that's going to do it. That's antecedently on this day. Q1 is in the books. Let's do some birthdays. Bonum. They claim it's their birthday. Jeff Ballard has a very, very good take here. He says, watch, with my kid being 15, he's going to ditch me this New Year's Eve to get drunk with his friends and knock up a cheerleader. 100% okay with that. Not the knocking up of the cheerleader, mind you. But yeah, I'm wondering why. I'm like, I think I started hanging out. He's a sophomore in high school. I think like my freshman year of high school, I was at like a senior's New Year's Eve party probably. And so I'm like, I know, Jeff, I'm going to lose him. I'm going to lose him for a few years. And then, boom, when he's 21, we're back in the game. Then we're going out together. Then he's dragging his old man dad out to clubs and stuff. I'll be like 70. I'll be like, we got to keep doing our New Year's Eves. He'll be like in a corner doing blow with a stripper. And I'll be like, that's my boy. So yeah, Jeff, I'm looking forward to. I understand that he's going to get older. That's fine. That's good. I've had my fun. It's time for him to have it. You can't be 18 years old playing the New Year's Eve Olympics. That's what we do every New Year's Eve. We have the New Year's Eve Olympics. It's a tradition. Been doing it about 10 years. There are there are a couple of different games, quarters, which he was introduced to. Quarters, you get a bunch of quarters. We do that. Not with actual alcohol, mind you, because he's a child. Kitchen soccer is another game that we play. Sometimes driveway baseball, if weather permits. But yeah, there's a number of events that comprise the New Year's Eve Olympics. And he can't be doing that at 19 because that'd be just weird. I'll be like, dude, I don't want to be doing the New Year's Eve Olympics with you this year. You're 19. Get a girlfriend. Fucking weirdo. Go out with your friends. Here, have some. Go buy a 6-pack or something. Sit in a park. Don't hang out with your dad at 19 on New Year's Eve. All right, let's get into birthdays. People born on this day. These are people who were born on this day, and we decide, because they're all celebrities in some regard, we decide whether or not we think they deserve a happy birthday or just, go kick rocks, loser. Born on this day in 1829, the very epitome, if you will, of the spare president. I always like to call out the spare presidents. Your Wendell Tylers, right? Your Gregson Davidson III. See, that's not even a president, but he would be a good, spare president. This is the chief spare president. Never been a more spare president. You can't, chat room, I challenge you, name me a more spare president than born on this day in 1829, Chester A. Arthur. There you go. Born on this day, Chester Arthur, politician, fuck you. No happy birthday for you. You're a politician. Born on this day in 1902, Larry Fine. Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine, Dr. Howard. Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine, Dr. Howard. That's right, Larry from the Three Stooges, born on this day in 1902. You're goddamn right we're going to say happy birthday to Larry. I liked Larry. He was the non-brother. All the other Stooges were like brothers, except for him. He was the non-brother. He was Larry Fine. The rest were all Howards. Antecedently, born on this day. Oh, wow, that's a twosome. Okay, umbilical twins. Larry Fine from the Three Stooges, born on this day in 1902. Also born on this day, a great American, a great American. I'll tell you, it's election day and I don't want to get all political. I don't like Trump. I think he's a D-bag. I'm like, look at that guy's a D-bag. He's just flat out an asshole. That's why I like him. It's not, I don't like him. It's not political. It's just, I look at that guy and I go, fuck that guy. That's just my take on Trump. It's not political. So, whatever. Who I think is a great American? And this is somebody that I think me and Trump are going to agree on. Ray Kroc. Ray Kroc, born on this day, 1902. Ray Kroc is a great American. He had no ideas. He had no particular skills. He just saw something that somebody else was doing better, and he stole it. And then he capitalized on it, and he built McDonald's. That's who Ray Kroc is. Ray Kroc is the founder of McDonald's. He didn't invent the concept for McDonald's. The McDonald's brothers did. Ray Kroc was a milkshake salesman who didn't understand why he was selling so many milkshakes to the McDonald's brothers restaurant. So he went out there and he investigated. He's like, why the hell are you guys going through milkshake motors like no other restaurant? And it's because the McDonald brothers had created a new way of running their kitchen and, serving fast food. The McDonald's way. Ray Kroc stole it from him. He's a great American. Ray Kroc. Born on this day in 1902. Born on this day in 1937. I don't know if he's a great American. He's a football coach. Barry Switzer. The old ball coach. No, that's not him. I think that's Spurrier or maybe Bowden. I don't know. Born on this day, 1937, Barry Switzer. He took a gun through an airport once. I remember that about Barry Switzer. I think he was like, I forgot my gun in my back pocket. And they're like, everybody freeze. It was like a big deal. Barry Switzer, born on this day in 1937. Great member of Dallas history. Born on this day in 1943. Ooh, another great Dallasite. Dallasite. Born and raised right here in Dallas. Rich kid. He's a rich kid. He was a Dallas rich kid. Went to St. Mark's. Oh, Mr. Important, Mr. St. Mark's. But he pushed all of that away. And as soon as he could, he packed his guitar up and he hit the road like a true troubadour. Happy birthday, Steve Miller. Steve Miller. Big old jet airliner. Abra, cadabra. Remember that? Remember when Steve Miller lost his shit? Remember when Steve Miller was all super cool and like really guitar-driven, interesting lyrics, cool storytelling, wonderful song structure? Steve Miller was really doing some interesting stuff and not only having critical acclaim, but also big pop success. And then he did Abracadabra. Abracadabra. I want to reach out and grab ya. Yeah, the great Steve Miller. The great Steve Miller, a top flight lyricist, wrote that. Abracadabra. I want to reach out and grab ya. Yeah. Born on this day in what year was Steve Miller born? I want to make sure I get that right. Steve Miller is very cool. Born on this day in 1943. Born on this day. You know where Steve Miller lives now? Steve Miller lives on a lake in Madison, Wisconsin. That's it. He just said, fuck it. He built a studio up there. Madison, Wisconsin has a great recording studio scene. Butch Vig started it back in the 90s, but it's built since then. Steve Miller Studios in Madison, Wisconsin. Pretty cool. Never been, but I know people have been there. They're like, dude, Steve Miller Studios. Dude, Steve Miller's just there. He's just like walking around drinking coffee. Steve Miller. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Born on this day in 1957, a great man. One of my favorite people. Knew him before he was famous. Then he got famous, and then I interviewed him once on Pugs and Kelly, and then I never saw him again because he died. The great Bernie Mac. Used to love Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac used to run a comedy show at the Cotton Club on Michigan Avenue, South Michigan Avenue in Chicago in the early 90s. Actually, all through the 80s and the early 90s. It was cool, man. It was like, I was a white kid from the suburbs. So that was sort of imagine what HBO put on TV as the deaf comedy thing, but imagine it before it was understood as a TV show. Like, imagine just walking into a comedy club in 1989 and just seeing angry black guys screaming about it. Was crazy. And that's what Bernie Mac did. Bernie Mac ruled the urban comedy scene on the south side of Chicago for years. And I had a friend named Doc Simpson who was a co-producer with me on the morning show that I was working. Not co-producer, I'm sorry. He was the executive producer. I was his co-producer. But Doc was really good friends, lifelong friends with Bernie Mac. They grew up together in Jefferson Heights. And he introduced me to him. And Bernie used to come and be on the show from time to time, not as a celebrity, just as a local comic who was doing this thing. And he was the kindest guy. He was such a nice man. Everything that you want, if you enjoyed Bernie Mac, the character, the comedic character, and that personality where he's pissed off, but you're not afraid of him because, you realize that's who he really was, except not quite as verbose, not quite as over the top, and not quite as easily lit, more of a guy that is really just friendly, like big smile all the time, warm greetings for everybody, a true salesman, a wonderful guy, an immense talent, and gone too soon. Bernie Mac, born on this day in 1957. The thing I always admired most about Bernie Mac is that it took him so long. He started doing stand-up comedy on the south side of Chicago at 15 years old. He didn't get famous until his 40s, I think, because I remember him in the 90s and he was already like 40. Like he was already like an older dude. And I'm like, oh, I mean, you wouldn't be wrong to look at Bernie Mac in 1992 at the Cotton Club in Chicago and go, this poor comic's dream is never going to come true. He's never going to he's just going to slog it out on the local scene forever. And then he's Bernie Mac. Steve Harvey, who was doing mornings in Chicago, was a big help with Bernie Mac's career, of course, because he knew how good he was as well. And then, of course, that comedy tour took off. Anyway, Bernie Mac, I love that guy. Bernie Mac, 1957, born on this day. Here's another guy I love. And my 15-year-old son loves this guy. We are so entertained by this person. He's dead. It's a real loss. He very well may be the smartest person. And by smartest, I mean most intellectual, most educated, most articulate, brainiest. He's a super genius. He is a super genius who also happens to be the greatest drummer in the history of rock and roll, Neil Peart of Rush, born on this day in 1958. I was never a big Rush fan growing up. Rush always represented a different genre. I mean, I dug some of their stuff. Some of it was unavoidable. But for the most part, Rush was like, long-haired stoner dudes. I was more into like, the alt stuff. I was more into The Cure and Police and stuff like that. But later in my 20s, that's when I really, really kind of discovered Rush. I had this like awakening where I'm like, okay. And the first thing that blew my mind was when I learned, like, first thing, me, I'm drawn to lyrics. I love lyrics. And Rush has the most bizarre, most entertainingly confusing and Lord of the Ringsy, if you will, lyrics ever. I was first in my 20s taken by the lyrics of Rush songs. I was like, oh my God, this is fucking apex poetry. This is modern poetry. And then I learned it was the drummer. Then I learned it was Neil Peart who wrote Tom Sawyer. Have you read the lyrics to Tom Sawyer? And then tried to break it down. It's crazy. Neil Peart is awesome, man. And he was a difficult guy. Like I read a bio about Neil Peart. A lot of people thought he was a jerk. Like a lot of people thought Neil Peart's mean. Neil Peart doesn't like people. It wasn't that he didn't like people. He had difficulty connecting with regular people because he was so smart. Seriously, I'm not kidding. Like his brain was like working on math equations while like people are like, I really love that fill you did on 2112. And he's like, what? Seriously, there are just certain people who are spooky like that. And they went through some unbelievable personal tragedy where I believe his entire family was slaughtered. And then he died. Neil Peart, born on this day. Happy birthday, Neil Peart. You're a dude, man. You're one of them dudes. Quiet, misunderstood. People thought you were mean because you were quiet. People thought you didn't like the fans because you didn't do press. Like it was always Alex Lifeson. If you got backstage to Rush in an opportunity to meet Rush, you met Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson. You didn't meet Neil Peart. Neil Peart never did those meet and greets. And people are like, oh, Neil Peart's a snob. No, he's just awkward. He's just couldn't connect with regular people. He was like on a different planet. Neil Peart, born on this day in 1958. Also born on this day in 1958. Oh my God, look at this. We've got umbilical Neils. Holy shit. Umbilical cousins are, of course, people born to different parents on the exact same day of the exact same year. Neil Peart, born in 1958. Also born in 1958. Dueling Neils. That's rare. Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's right. I was going to say, name another Neil, and that would have been the only other Neil, right? Neil. Name another Neil. Quick, chat room. Name another Neil. Neil Peart, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Go. You can't. Neil Armstrong. I got it. I win. Neil Armstrong. Neil deGrasse Tyson, speaking of Neil Armstrong, American astrophysicist, cosmologist, and author. Let me tell you something about Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm just like the rest of you. 15 years or so. When did he pop on the scene? 15 years ago, we liked him. You know why we liked him? Because he was a dork. Because he was a dorky black guy. He was like a fat, middle-aged Urkel, and we were all drawn to him. We all thought, oh, isn't he interesting? He's smart, and he's a nerd, and he's black. Because a lot of white people didn't know that black people could be nerds. Urkel tried to shatter that ceiling, but we'd forgotten by the time Neil deGrasse Tyson comes around. And we're like, oh, my God, not all black people are cool. Some black people are dorks. Look at this guy. And he started doing like talk shows, and we're like, he says interesting things. And then all of a sudden, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who was a lifelong dork, don't kid yourself. You think he went to dances as a kid? Nah. Neil deGrasse Tyson, all of a sudden, he starts to get famous. And like over the course of the last like 5 years or so, he's feeling himself a little bit much, and I'm put off by it. I'm like, you are a dork, sir. You are a dork. You do not get a beautiful girlfriend, or I don't even know if he does, but you know what I mean? He's getting a little too comfortable with being, you know, witty and all of that. I liked it better when he was awkward and a dork. Now he's like, he's got prepared remarks, and he's like Mr. Funny, and he's comfortable with Jimmy Fallon and all that. No, I like weird, awkward Neil deGrasse Tyson, not this fucking Hugh Hefner Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't want this guy. Anyway, bottom line, he all right. Born on this day in 1975, Kate Winslet. I love me some Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet is a cool ass actress, bitch. Now, you know that like I got a problem with like actresses because I think they're all nuts. And I think that there's probably a high probability that Kate Winslet is nuts as well. But at least she's cool nuts. Like, I'll give you an example. Like they made Kate Winslet like a movie star, and they prettied her up and they did all of this stuff. But Kate Winslet is actually like a hardcore punk. Like before she was cast in what was some Sense and Sensibility, I think it was one of her first like early 90s Jane Austen movies where she had like nose rings, and she had like a full-on mohawk. She had to have fake hair in the first Jane Austen movie she did because she had like a purple mohawk. She's cool. Like she's like a real rebel. And then that's just one piece of why I like Kate Winslet. Then there's just been a whole bunch of other things. Like if you ever seen her in an interview, she's cool. She's cool. She's funny. She doesn't give any fucks. She's confident. She's smart. She's sexy. She knows who she is. But Ricky Gervais had a TV series, and I think it was on HBO. Might have been on HBO. Might have been on Showtime. Shit. It might have been on Cinemax. I don't know. It was called Extras. It was Ricky Gervais's first TV show after creating The Office. And Extras is the story of a bunch of people who are professional extras in movies and TV shows. Ricky Gervais is the central character. He's this long-standing extra in the London film scene. He's been doing it for years, and everybody knows him. He's got a group of friends. And it's just about what the life of somebody who is trying to become a big actor but is forced to do extra work and be around all these big stars and be a part of these big productions, but you're just the guy in the background. That's what Extras was about. Very funny show. If you like Ricky Gervais, it's right in par. It's right where he was at his stride, doing his best work. Extras is phenomenal. Now, There was a whole season long where Kate Winslet was on extras because Ricky Gervais was cast to be a small extra role in some big new Kate Winslet movie. And so Kate Winslet was in like every episode of extras for a whole season playing Kate Winslet. Now, all of her scenes were depicted as taking place during breaks in filming, so you're not seeing her in the movie, but you're seeing her hanging out, like just as a nun, chain smoking cigarettes and cursing out her assistant. Kate Winslet took on the role of Kate Winslet and destroyed Kate Winslet. It was so funny. Like Kate Winslet played herself as one of the worst people you're ever going to want to meet. So that kind of self-effacing and self-awareness, Kate Winslet, born on this day in 1975. She's a cool-ass bitch. Born on this day in 1989, saw him last night, had himself a big game, got a hot girlfriend, and his brother got in trouble because of it. Happy birthday, Travis Kelce. Born on this day in 1989. Travis Kelce. All right, here we go, folks. Now let's move on. Let's do deads, right? These are the people who've died. Quarter 3, people who've died on this day. We take a look at their life's resume and we decide where did they go. They go up to heaven or down to hell. Oh shit, I got to pull this page up again. Sorry, my page closed. Yeah. All right, here we go. Sorry. All right, deads. People who died. These are the people who've died. People who died on this very day in history. Where'd they go? Heaven or hell? Dead on this day in 1992. Oh, look at this. The great Eddie Kendricks. Eddie Kendricks, The Temptations. Eddie Kendricks, man. Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. Ain't too proud to beg. Sweet honey. Can't get next to you, babe. I can't get next to you, babe. The Temptations are fucking ballers, man. And I don't think the Temptations get the due credit they deserve. Eddie Kendricks, dead on this day, 1992, leader of the Temptations. Where'd he go, heaven or hell? He went to hell. Are you kidding me? I'm a Temptations fan. I know the story of the Temptations. Eddie Kendricks went straight to hell. That dude was tortured and that dude was trouble, but that dude was a genius and the Temptations are badass. What's that song? Did they do, well, I know they did those. What is it? Get ready, what else? Ain't too proud to beg. I think we did that one. Who did that song? I don't know if that's the Temptations. It's the one that goes across 110th Street. Is that the Temptations? Is that the Temptations or is that the Spinners? That might be the Spinners. Across. Anyway, Eddie Kendricks, he's going to hell. He was great. Dead on this day in 2004. Here's another guy that we're going to preemptively put in hell because, well, we ain't got no choice. But does beg the question, if we're putting this guy in hell preemptively, maybe we ought to take a look at the guest list in hell. That might be the place where we want to go. Because on this day in 2004, the great, the icon, the legend, Rodney Dangerfield took an express train to the underworld. That's right, Rodney Dangerfield. Dead on this day in 2004. Absolutely went to hell. Rodney was awesome, but he didn't give a fuck about it. He was like a tornado of a human. he just don't get in Rodney's way. A lot of lives were ruined because they got too close to Rodney Dangerfield's fire. Also, to be fair, a lot of lives were made because Rodney Dangerfield, he did a great job of bringing up the next wave of comedians. Also, though, there's Sam Kinison, who did their entire career trying to impress Rodney and a lot of that stuff. Anyway, Rodney Dangerfield, he was an absolute workhorse of a partier. That is what is not really is it that well known about Rodney? I mean, everybody obviously knows that Rodney was an incredible joke writer and he was great with his presence and he created this voice and this entire vibe of this character that was 100% unique. He was sort of equal parts still in the Catskill era of stand-up comedy, but also very, very solidly in the booming 1980s vein of comedy as well. It's very important. But that dude could party. Cocaine, pills, he was always high. Rodney Dangerfield woke up and started smoking blunts one after another right up until his death. He wasn't changing anything about it. How old was Rodney when he died? That's interesting. How old was Rodney? Because, he looked 115, but he might have been 68. He was 82. Okay, good. Fucking A, man. 82 for a guy who lived like Rodney Dangerfield is exactly what you want. Because a guy who lived like Rodney Dangerfield should have died before 65. But guess what? He made it to 82, and he never hit them brakes. Rodney Dangerfield. Oh, he's in hell, though. Don't get it twisted. He's definitely in hell. That dude. He did some stuff. Dead on this day in 2011. Wow, this is a big day for deads. We only got 3. This is the last one. We told you about Eddie Kendricks of the Temptations. We told you about Rodney Dangerfield, comedic legend. Now, not entertainment, but one of those people. Okay, so I put it to you like this. There are a lot of people who create things that influence culture in their time. But there are very few people who, in their time, their contributions are remembered millennia later. Okay? Give you an example. Michelangelo. Leonardo da Vinci. What do you think Leonardo da Vinci was the only dude that was painting shit back then? No, there were others. But certain people are remembered because they're just different. Shakespeare. Christopher Marlowe was out there writing play. A whole bunch of people were out there writing. But we remember Shakespeare in 2024. Why? What's the difference? Because there are just some people. There are just a couple that we cherry pick and we remember 1,000 years later. Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein's one of them dudes. We know his name too, right? And I talk about who do we have with us now? Who may be in that same category? Who can we definitively say, yeah, 1,000 years from now? I don't know about Elvis Presley. I don't know. But I think Lennon and McCartney of the Beatles in 500 years will be still discussed among serious music people in the way that, Mozart or whatever are discussed today. So Lennon and McCartney. I think Steven Spielberg is certainly as close to a modern Shakespeare as we have. But this guy who died on this day in 2011, I think he will be remembered as well. I just don't know. I'm glad I saw him. I'm glad that I saw what he did, what his role was, what his manner was. I have an understanding of the kind of dude he was, which is oftentimes not something that we have when we're talking about these historical figures. Nobody who is an expert on Shakespeare can tell you what kind of dude he was, right? But with this guy, we remember him. I'm like, yeah, I know what kind of dude he was. He smiled and he laughed and he chuckled and he did things like that. And he had an easy way about him and his shoulders slumped when he was uneasy. I've read a lot of books about this guy. I've seen all of the movies about this guy. I used to be fascinated by this guy. Not a fan, not a cultist, but fascinated by his influence because I recognize that 1,000 years from now, we're still going to know the name of Steve Jobs. I just don't know whether or not that's fair. Because I subscribe to the Bill Burr philosophy when it comes to Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was just a guy who did a whole bunch of drugs. Okay, cool. He expanded his mind. He thought about crazy shit. And then he'd write down the crazy shit that he came up with on mushrooms. And then, as Bill Burr would say, he's, Steve Jobs walks down the hallways at Apple. He opens up a door to a room filled with a bunch of nerds in white jackets. And he screams, "I need a phone with a camera on it," and slams the door. And then all of a sudden it's Steve Jobs invented the phone with the camera. It's like, no, he just had this crazy idea. Probably had no fucking idea if it could work. Gave it to smart people and said, "Can you make this idea of mine work?" I don't even know if it's a thing. Do we have lasers yet? Are lasers a thing, or is that just from movies? At any rate, Steve Jobs, I mean, it's out of my control. Steve Jobs is going to be remembered 1,000 years from now, I believe, as an Einstein type, as an important person who changed. I mean, look, there are any number of people who, Bill Gates is certainly another one, Bill Gates. But there are a number, this might be different. It's like, Pugs, what? You named like 10 people we're going to remember in 1,000 years. Well, I think the computer shift, the shift from between like 1999 to 2000, I think the world that we knew, which is why I always say we Gen Xers are the luckiest of the generations. We Gen Xers, few millennials, and certainly whatever baby boomers we have left. Those are the only people in the history of man who will ever have an understanding of the world before the computer age and an understanding of the world in the computer age. We remember the dark ages. We remember the age before fire, and that's rare. It's one of the last people around. The only people. We're going to be old. We're going to be really old. Anyway, Steve Jobs changed that. And there's a number of people. I don't know that the Google guys will be remembered because, quite frankly, I can't even remember the Google guys' names now. Sergey Brin, I think, is one of them. But it'll be the Steve Jobs. It'll be Steve Jobs, whose name survives the test of time. It'll be Bill Gates, whose name survives the test of time. Maybe even Steve Zuckerberg for what he will be remembered for, which is the guy who did social media. Social media is another thing. The internet age is one thing, but then about 15 years into the internet age, then we got into the social media age. And I know there was Friendster and there was Facebook, MySpace or whatever before Facebook. But history is going to remember Zuckerberg as the guy. They're going to be like, yeah, he's the guy that started the whole social media thing. So I think he'll be remembered. Elon Musk, I can't believe it. My dislike of Elon Musk has made me not give him credit here. He will absolutely be remembered with the likes of Steve Jobs. Bezos, no. Just rich guys for rich guys' sake, no. All right, there you have it. Steve Jobs, he's going to hell because he's weird and I don't know. I don't know. Steve Jobs, that's a strange one. He's a billionaire, so I want to put him in hell, but he's also directly associated with this great change to humanity, and he's also directly associated with this optimistic, hippie kind of vibe. So I don't know, man. Steve Jobs might be the first one that I don't know where to put him, because I do think he's a transcendent figure in the history of the world. God. Just putting him in hell. Whatever. If he's as good as I think he is, Steve Jobs will be able to talk his way out, right? There you go. All right, folks, those are the first 3 quarters of today's show. Want to remind you all that once again, we have an executive producer, the person who tipped the most on the previous day's show. Well, that person gets to be the executive producer. Today, it's Cam. Thank you so much, Cam. Here as we transition into quarter 4, which is all the hot topics, current events, everything that you need to know about this particular day, Election Day in America. Before we do that, I want to once again remind you that we are in our pledge week. If you can help and donate anything, drop a little something, Cash App, Venmo. It's how we keep this show going. Talk radio every day, performed by me, a narcissist, just yapping. But we're not political. We're not bought and paid for. We're just people. We got a chat room here. Everybody gets together. We talk. Nina's talking about Musk. Nina in the chat room says Musk has never done anything. He just got lucky throwing money. I don't know about that. Nina, I knew Elon Musk has done a lot in the space world. A lot. I mean, I know for those of us who are easily triggered by douchebaggery, it is hard to give Elon Musk credit. But his fucking SpaceX shit is legit, Nina. It's legit. It's legit. And it's hard for me to say that. Nina also says Bezos will be remembered because he changed the way we shop for everything. That's a good point. He really did. I mean, do we remember John Cash Penny for any reason other than the fact that J.C. Penney was a store? I mean, because it's not called Bezos, it's called Amazon. I mean, I'm wondering. But no, it's a great point. It's a really good point. All right, let's see. Let me run through some of the chat room comments here. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the most current. Nina also says that Musk just throws money at smarter people. Well, that's Bill Burr's complaint against Steve Jobs, and I kind of share it. Okay, all right, that's enough. My chat room people, just mix it up amongst yourselves. We're gonna move forward, okay? Because it's election day. We don't have time to dick around. The whole world could end any minute. Any minute, some nonsense could happen. And all right, let's move on. Ready? First and foremost, we start out every day talking about Israel because I do believe that the onset of World War III is potentially the biggest story, but we got nothing to report. Here's what we got out of Israel: an airstrike, an Israeli airstrike kills 20 people in northern Gaza. There you go. Okay, we're moving on. Covered the Israel stuff. It is election day. Let's talk a little bit about election day. What's going on behind me? What's she doing? All right, I don't know. They're not even giving me a banner headline to. Usually we have the American flag behind us, but today, like I said, I'm staying frosty, just in case something big breaks behind me. It is election day. I'm trying to remember something that I read this morning about what election day is, and it was something to the effect of like election day is like a jigsaw puzzle, except you only get to see one piece. And like election night, watching election night coverage and the results come in, it's like a jigsaw puzzle where you only get to see one piece at a time, and you're never allowed to look at the picture on the box. that's and I thought, yeah, that's pretty good. Because all you get on these election night things is like, one little piece of news, and you're like, yeah, that's good for us. And then like you get another little piece of the puzzle, and it's like, oh, that's bad for us. Whoever us or we or they may be. I don't know. Let's see here. How is the AP bringing us up to speed on the election day results so far? It says, want to follow election results like a pro? I sure do. Here's what to watch in key states. Oh, they're going to run down the key states. All right, let's not kid ourselves, guys. There's 3 key states: Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. That's it. Those are the key states. Let's see what they say here on the AP. Election night in the United States, blah, blah, blah. Thousands of counties and towns report vote totals. It can be hard to figure out when the results reported will reflect the actual outcome. So here are some things to watch for. Past elections have proven to be a guide, blah, blah, blah. I think going through states. All right, Florida. Here we go. We're watching Florida. When we start watching the results pour in, we're watching Florida first. This is according to the AP. The first clues of how election night is going usually come out of Florida. Results start coming in at 7 Eastern time, even though the final polls don't close in the state until 8 p.m. Not every state makes clear when it releases vote updates, whether the reports include mail-in ballots or not. But when states do provide that information or enough clues are available to figure it out on our own, it's hugely, well, hold on. No, stupid pop-up. It's hugely helpful in figuring out why the vote count looks like it does. I don't know what that means, but they're saying, look for Florida first, which my understanding is that Florida is a non-entity, so I don't know why. All right, well, let's try it again. Florida. The first clues of how election night is going to usually come from Florida. Not every state makes clear when it releases vote updates, whether the reports include mail-in ballots, early in-person, or election day ballots. But when states do provide that information, or enough clues are available to figure it out on our own, it's hugely helpful in figuring out why. Oh, I guess Florida does do that then. So Florida is a state that makes or requires the reporting of election day votes to be categorized according to mail-in, day of, absentee, that kind of thing. And they say that when you have that information, as is the case with Florida, when you have that information, it is easier to figure out how the election is trending. Okay, that makes sense. We worked it through. I'm still not going to be utilizing that, but whatever. Okay. Virginia. All right, Virginia, apparently, very important. And here's what we got to look for in Virginia. While the first votes of the night should favor Democrats in Florida, the order of events in Virginia tend to vary, depending on what each county decides to do. There are no strict rules dictating how counties should release results. But in past elections, early returns favored Republicans until the big cities and large Northern Virginia suburbs reported their results, which took hours. Okay, so this is important because this is not just for this year. This is always what we see. In small counties, like if there's a rural county, and this isn't the number, but I'm just using this number because it's easy, and there's 100 people, okay? There's a rural county in Nebraska, and there's 100 people in that county. That county is probably, if they close their polling doors at 7 p.m., they've got 100 people in that county is going to report by about 7:05, okay? Because there's only 100. Smaller rural counties report first. Smaller rural counties tend to be conservative Republican mainstays, okay? So the early reporting on election night is almost always going to favor the Republican candidates simply because those vote totals from those smaller communities are easier to tabulate than, say, the city of New York, okay? So that's why, and we see this a lot, and we've seen it, and there's a fix. How is it that the Republican was up by 7 points, and now they're down by 10? Well, dude, that's because fucking Atlanta just reported. That's because that's how it works. It takes longer. When you have 100 votes to count, you can count them quick. But when you're Atlanta or New York or Baltimore or Detroit or Milwaukee or Chicago or Dallas, it takes longer because you've got hundreds of thousands of votes to tabulate. It isn't a fix. It isn't a fix when the tide changes in the Democrats' favor when the big cities begin to report. Ugh. This happens every year, every time. All right, let's see here. What else we got? Georgia. Hey, speaking of Atlanta and Georgia, let's look for this in Georgia. Georgia allows counties to begin counting absentee ballots on Election Day. So Georgia's already counting their absentee ballots. By the time polls close, some counties already have major batches of votes ready to report. Yes, some counties, the small ones, where it's easy to count a manageable number of ballots. Those first reports are often disproportionate. Hold on. Those first reports, I don't need all this. Sorry. This fall, the state election board approved a new law in Florida that requires poll workers to hand count the number of ballots cast, not the actual votes. After voting is complete, critics, including GOP Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, worried the rule would delay the reporting of election results. All right, so Georgia's doing a hand count now on ballots, not countable votes. This is the other thing that we need to learn about. We went through this in 2000 with the Chads, okay? There are ballots, and then there are votes. Just because you fill out your ballot and just because you drop your ballot into the box doesn't mean it's a countable vote. You might not have pushed through the little thing far enough. You might have did it wrong. Who knows? But there is a process here. There is how many ballots were cast, and then how many of those ballots are afterwards thrown out, which is something that we always do, but whatever. Two things. All right, so there you go. So Georgia now requires hand counting and reporting of ballots. So the numbers we see coming out of Georgia are just going to be ballots. We don't know if those are all officially counted votes. All right, so there you go. That's Georgia. Ohio's a big one. In 2022 Ohio Senate race, Tim Ryan started out with an early lead when Franklin County, home to the state capital of Columbus, reported its first batch of ballots of the night. But then J.D. Vance, now Trump's running mate, blew past him. That was the high. It doesn't say that. I'm just shortening it. We don't need to read the history of Ohio politics. That vote was a high point for Ryan in the end. So what are we looking for in Ohio? Ohio, it's all about mail-in ballots. Ohio releases its pre-election day votes first thing on election night, including mail-in votes. All right, so Ohio's going to give us our mail-in absentee count as soon as the polls close because, as they're saying here, they've already been counted. Okay. So whatever comes out of Ohio, it will favor the absentee, whoever was the most popular absentee candidate. That's going to be early, and then day of poll will be different. North Carolina, this is close. Now, North Carolina is a red state. I always thought it was a red state, but I don't know. They're saying it's in play. I don't see that possible, but whatever. North Carolina in the 2022 Senate race, about a half hour after the polls closed, Democrat Cherry Beasley had a lead of nearly 200,000 votes. By midnight, Republican Ted Budd had a lead of over 150,000 votes. North Carolina counts nearly all of its ballots on election night. First reports of the night in most North Carolina counties will be the results of mail ballots, followed by early in-person votes. Later updates will then include results from ballots cast on election day. I'm bored with this story, although now it's Pennsylvania. Don't we want to kind of dive into Pennsylvania because we're of the understanding that Pennsylvania is really important, right? All right. Let's just, for my own edification, I would do that. Look, if I wasn't streaming right now, I would read this anyway. So I'm good because I'm interested. Pennsylvania followed the same pattern as Georgia and Ohio back in 2022. Initial vote updates out of Pennsylvania, which included a big chunk of mail-in ballots, gave Democrat John Fetterman a lopsided advantage before votes from Republicans began to narrow the gap in the Senate race. Pennsylvania, the state, had reported even before poll close. The state had reported even before poll closing that more than 7 in 10 mail-in ballots returned before Election Day came from registered Democrats. All right, so I guess what they're telling us here in Pennsylvania is that the early results that we're going to see in Pennsylvania are going to be mail-in ballots, okay? And that if last year is any judge, we should expect the early results out of the very important Pennsylvania to favor the Democrats because the mail-in ballots are counted first. And then later, you'll start to see more rural Pennsylvania fill in, and that may change. And then it may change again once Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and the larger places report. At any rate, it's going to be a long-ass night, people. It's going to be a long night. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I honestly think I'm just going to do I'm going to have a sandwich because it's pledge week. I can't eat food. I can't afford food. It's pledge week. So I'm going to eat a sandwich. And I honestly think that by about 9 o'clock, I will be watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Do you know what I did? Do you know what I did last night? So I started a binge. Remember, I was like, I'm binging the great comedies. And I jumped in the middle of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I was like, I'm going to rewatch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But the problem with that show is that it's the longest running television show in the history of the goddamn world. And there's like 18 seasons or some shit. And I'm like, I'm not going to watch 18 seasons of this. So I just randomly jumped in. I think I started in like season 8. And so now I finished It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia last night. And so I went, you know what? I'm just going to start it over. I'm going to watch. These were so enjoyable. Seasons 8 through 16 or whatever it is, so enjoyable. I'm just going to go back to season 1. I don't even remember what happened in season 1. I have always told people that a pro hack when watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is to avoid season 1. Just ignore season 1. My reasoning was always this. Frank, the character of Danny DeVito, who is hysterical, Frank isn't introduced into the series until season 2. He's not in season 1 at all. And so I've always said, if you really want Full Metal, It's Always Sunny, it's got to be with Frank, and you got to start with season 2. So this is the first time I'm going back to watch season 1, the one without Danny DeVito. I got to tell you, man, season 1 comes out of the gates. I was wrong. Don't avoid season 1. Just know that no matter how good you think season 1 is, because season 1 is really good. Without Danny DeVito, it's really edgy. Like, it is by far the edgy. If you think It's Always Sunny is edgy in season 5, it is like really edgy in season 1. Anyway, there you go. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to probably watch, I think I'm on episode 3 now of It's Always Sunny, season 1, episodes 3. I did last night. I was like, I'm going to watch the first 2 episodes, and I did, and they were good. So I might do that. I might just ignore the election and just binge watch, eating a ham sandwich, a can of soup. Good thing the temperature's turning, because I got soup. I got a lot of soup in the house. I could eat soup. I like soup. I'm a soup guy. Who wouldn't be a soup guy? All right, let's see here. That's enough we need for the election day. Who cares? All right, let's move on. We got more election day kind of stuff, like this one. All right, Dixville Notch. You know this stupid American tradition? Dixville Notch. It's up there in New Hampshire. They get to vote first. They vote first. I don't even know what the tradition is. I just know that there's this little stupid town in New Hampshire. And when I say little, hold that thought. This little stupid town in New Hampshire, and they always get the honor of being the first votes. So basically, you're supposed to look at the results in Dixville Notch and go, well, it's going to be a good night for the Republicans, or it's going to be a good night for the Democrats, whatever the case may be. You look at the results of Dixville Notch. Well, guess what? Dixville Notch was a fucking tie. Dixville Notch, New Hampshire is a friggin' tie. Now, remember I told you it's a little town? Yeah, it's a little town. Only 6 votes. 3 for Kamala, 3 for Trump. Dixville Notch, thanks for being no fucking help at all. Bunch of dumb syrup hillbillies. We give you this honor, this distinction, and you fucking turn in a tie? Oh, fuck you. Bunch of syrup farmers. I don't know where does syrup come from? Does it really come from a tree? I mean, I honestly think that syrup is just sugar made in a vat with other things, right? Does it come to a tree? Cartoons told me that if you take a spigot and pound it into a tree in New Hampshire or somewhere, you can open it up and you can get like log cabin syrup. That's what cartoons told me. I don't know that that's necessarily the actual process. The Philly DA is taking no shit from anybody. Talk about being completely out of fucks. The district attorney in Philadelphia gave a press conference last night on election eve, and he pulled no punches. Did you see this guy? I'm telling you. Fuck around and find out is a word that he actually used. The district attorney of Philadelphia told his constituents to fuck around and find out. All right, let's check this out. Is this the story from local news there? I like the actual video, but maybe there's a better story that'll give us some context. All right, here we go, guys. Watch this. This is the DA of Philadelphia warning people don't fuck around at the polls.
Philadelphia's district attorney is highlighting voter protection efforts ahead of tomorrow's election. The DA's office election task force, along with city leaders and police commissioner Kevin Bethel, held a news conference this morning. DA Larry Krasner says there will be additional officers at polling locations all across the city. However, by law, no police officer is allowed to be within 100 feet of a polling place. The election task force will be activated starting at 7 tomorrow morning. Krasner emphasized that anyone who tried to attempt voter intimidation or voter suppression will be held accountable.
Anybody who thinks you're going to play those games in Philadelphia, you're going to do it in bad faith. I got no problem with doing it in good faith. But if you're going to do it in bad faith, there is an election court, there are judges, they have orders. And those orders are going to say, in essence, get out of the polling place. Anybody who doesn't get out, you're getting arrested. That's how it works.
Police Commissioner Bethel also addressing security concerns.
No, you cowardly news That's not the clip. They cut the clip that everybody wants. The clip of him going fuck around and find out. He actually said that. Anyway, there you go. Courts. They got election night courts in Philadelphia. If there's like an issue, if you're in line at a polling place and you're like, no, I think I should be able to vote, you go right to court. They got a court set up there. That's what he said. We'll adjudicate it right there on the spot, you son of a bitch. We got judges working at polling places now to determine whether or not you're an asshole. Jason Kelce, Monday Night Football last night featured the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City win? They won, right? Yeah, they did. That was a good game, wasn't it? Overtime? Yeah, that's what it was. Why you don't go for two? Why don't you go for two? I'm watching this game last night, and it was Tampa Bay ties it up right there at the very end, like 1 second gone off the end. It's gone. The game's over, tied up. We're going to overtime. Tampa Bay ties it up. But they could have won because, they kicked the 1 point, sending it to overtime. They could have gone for it. They could have won it outright. Instead, they went to overtime. They kicked it to the world champions and let Patrick Mahomes drive the field. They never even got to touch the ball in overtime. You're dealing with Patrick Mahomes, okay? You get a chance to win this, fucking go for two, bro. Go for two. You should have gone for two. You would have just lost 10 minutes earlier. That's all. You would have just lost 10 minutes earlier. Go for two next time. Jesus. Anyway, Jason Kelce, of course, former Philadelphia Eagle, great brother of Travis Kelce, boyfriend of Taylor Swift. I'm just trying to connect all the dots. Travis Kelce made news over the weekend. We reported it yesterday. He was at a Penn State football game. He was walking through the tailgate, just minding his own business, and a whole bunch of dude bros. Nothing worse than half-buzzed 20-year-old frat bros. Oh, God. So now he's got to deal with these guys, and they're talking shit about his brother, of course. Remember Jason Kelce's brother, Travis Kelce, dating Taylor Swift. Dude's like, your brother's a fag for dating Taylor Swift. It was crazy. Whatever the slur was that was shouted, it made no sense. It was like, really? Dude, that doesn't make him gay. That doesn't make him a fag. Do you know what a fag is? Are you using it incorrectly? Maybe. Anyway, so Jason Kelce's minding his own business. He's walking through. The dude's like, your brother's gay or whatever. And somehow the dude who's harassing him, his phone slips out of his hand. And it skids across the floor, the cement, the blacktop. And Jason Kelce picks up the dude's phone, who's going, your brother's a faggot. He's doing this. Jason Kelce picks up the dude's phone, and he throws it on the ground. And he breaks it, and he walks away. Oh, everybody was like, good for him. Nobody is against Jason Kelce. I refuse to acknowledge that there are people out there who think Jason Kelce did anything wrong. Refuse to acknowledge. I went on a bit of a rant last night or yesterday, and I won't do it again today. But my God, we got to get back to a place in this world where people understand that some of us are going to punch you in the fucking face. There's no goddamn fear of getting popped in the fucking face for running your mouth like a goddamn... Never mind. But that's basically what this situation was. This kid, this 19, 20-year-old college kid, grows up in a social media environment where you can talk all the shit you want because ain't nobody going to reach across or reach into the screen. Nah. You can be anonymous. You can be an asshole. Oh, you can be the toughest and the best shit talker in the world in that world. But when you're walking behind a 6'5", 340-pound, on his way to the Hall of Fame retired offensive lineman, you better fucking check your mouth, son, because it could have been a lot worse than getting your little phone busted that we all know your daddy's going to pay to get fixed anyway, you little fuck. By the way, we've got a new angle on that. You want to see this? We got a new angle. We showed one angle yesterday, but there's an additional angle of the incident that I just described. Again, Jason Kelce walking through the tailgate at the Penn State game, being harassed by somebody. This person's phone slips out of their hand while they're harassing him, and Travis Kelce picks it up and basically just destroys it. All right, so let's watch it from this angle. I don't think we've seen this one yet. At least I didn't, not until this morning. Look, he is, first of all, he is walking away from the situation. He is moving. He is being followed by this person. This person is following him, harassing him for no reason. Like, we hate the paparazzi, but at the very least, you can say the paparazzi are just doing their job. They're being paid. There is a commercial enterprise at work here. That's not what's happening here. This is just someone being an asshole, recording it for social clicks. This is exactly the kind of person who needs to get cracked in the fucking face. And let me tell you something. I swear to God, if this was my son, if this is a couple of years from now, and this is my son on some college campus chasing some pop culture celebrity through a tailgate, calling him a faggot and insulting his family, if that's my son and that person stops and tunes my kid up, let me tell you something. I ain't suing that guy. I'm writing him a letter and saying thank you. My son deserved to get his face fucking cracked. That's probably not what's going to happen, though. This kid's daddy's probably a lawyer, and they're going to go after all that podcast money he's got now. No, that kid deserved a lot worse than happened to him. He didn't get touched. He got his phone broken. Anyway, the kid is chasing Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce is moving away. Look at him. He's got his 12-pack of beer. He's double fisting. Oh, no, that's a can. Okay, so that's a phone right here. He's got a can over here. See that? The phone just flipped out of his hand. The phone is right here. Here, watch that again. We'll go back to it. You'll see the phone skitch across the blacktop. There it goes. One more time. One more time. Okay, there's the phone. Now Kelce grabs the phone. This is the phone of the kid that's chasing him and harassing him. And now Kelce grabs the phone. He's still talking shit to him. He's still like, trying to be a big man. Son, this is the real world. You deserve to get your fucking jaw broke right here. You don't talk to strangers that way. You be respectful in a civilized society until it's time not to be respectful anymore. And that's a situation that you young men are creating on your own right here. And thank God Jason Kelce is an emotionally in control behemoth of a man who didn't lose his shit and snap your fucking little bitch neck. You pussy ass bitch. You pussy ass bitch.
Travis Kelce, you get that on camera. You get that on fucking camera. Travis Kelce broke my phone. How about that?
Look at him. Look at him. Doesn't he seem like a nice kid? Travis Kelce broke my phone. For why? Why did he break your phone, little guy? For no reason. For no reason. He just went nuts and he broke my phone. Really? You didn't do anything?
Send that to the news. Send that to the news. Broke my fucking phone.
All right, there you go. That's an asshole. That is certainly not representative of what I just a day ago touted as an improved generation of Americans. No, that guy's an asshole. Of course, when I make those statements, they're not monoliths. There are pockets of assholery in every generational cohort, and that we found one there, okay? He's definitely... So Travis Kelce on Monday Night Football last night, he had to apologize, apparently. I don't know if he had to apologize, but he made it. He definitely addressed it. So here, let's take a look at how Jason Kelce responds to all the big publicity he got over the weekend for having that run-in with the kid at the Penn State game. This is from Monday Night Football last night. Jason Kelce, here we go.
I want to give you the floor to say what's on your mind.
Yeah, listen, I think everybody's seen on social media everything that took place this week. Mm-hmm. I just want to listen. I'm not happy with anything that took place. I'm not proud of it, and in a heated moment, I chose to greet hate with hate, and I just don't think that that's a productive thing. I really don't. I don't think that it leads to discourse, and it's the right way to go about things. And in that moment, I fell down to a level that I shouldn't have. So I think the bottom line is, I want to live my life. I try to live my life by the golden rule. That's what I've always been taught. I try to treat people with common decency and respect, and I'm going to keep doing that moving forward. Even though I fell short this week, I'm going to do that moving forward and continue to do that. So, I think we got a game to focus on. Obviously, a matchup. I don't think this is the platform to necessarily go into more detail. So get ready for this Chiefs game.
Much respect, bro.
Respect.
For real.
Yeah.
All respect, my friend.
Respect.
All right, no doubt.
You have more to say. We'll be listening with that. And in the meantime, as you say, we got a game to get
Absolutely.
to. And
All right, there you go. That's Jason Kelsey responding to the incident over the weekend. I want to address here in the chat room, Adam, my boy Adam says, you, speaking to me, as someone who likes to use gay as a pejorative for lame, should be okay with this dude using the F word. Gonna break this down now. Me, as someone who likes using gay as a pejorative, no, it's just the direct opposite. It's not being used as a pejorative, and that's where context is important here. Okay, what is my rule with my son and swearing when he was 6, 7 years old? He can swear as long as it's not being used against somebody. In this case, your brother is a faggot for, that is an aggressive use of that word. I don't fucking cotton to that, Adam. That's context. The use of that word in context. Now, however, if I put a tie on and I go, oh my God, I look like a faggot, I want to be able to say that about myself or about somebody else in a humorous. And look, I understand that we're talking about people being hurt. So I obviously am not someone who's going to run around, saying hurtful things to people. But I do, that's my, I don't want to say any of these words is my point. I don't want to say any of them, but I do think there's an interesting conversation to be had about contextual uses of words. Like you just don't ban words. It's how we use them. If we're using words aggressively to marginalize or oppress people, then yeah, obviously that's a poor use of that combination of letters. But that is ultimately all a word is a combination of letters. And you can use that combination of letters creatively. Adam is right. There is no place for that kind of attitude and that kind of, and I agree with him, but it was coming from the frat kid. And, he's, Adam says Travis Kelsey apologized for the use of the word fag or faggot or whatever. And by the way, I'm far more comfortable using the word faggot than I am the word the N-word. The N-word, to me, a little bit different connotation. What else? What else do we need to say about the Jason Kelsey thing? I don't know. I guess that's it. Let's move on. Adam reminds us there are consequences. There are consequences to everything, my guy. Managing the risk of those consequences is what life's all about. What else? Do we have any news? Oh, hey, Cowboys making some news today. The Cowboys made a trade with the Carolina Panthers. Mingo, a wide receiver. They gave up more for Jonathan Mingo than they gave up for or than they got for Amari Cooper, which is weird. It seems weird. Gave Carolina a 4th, former second-round pick. Okay, so he's a second-round pick 2 years ago. He's being dealt for a 4th. It's being dealt by the worst team in football for a 4th. And why wouldn't you? If you're the worst team in football and you can get a 4th-round pick for this guy, yeah. So that's what I'm looking at there from Carolina. The problem in that scenario is that Jerry Jones gave up a 4th. Is that a lot? I think that's a lot. I think it's a lot for Mingo. I think it's a lot for a team that already has CeeDee Lamb. I understand we're looking next year and the next year, but I got to hope that next year and the next year that You can probably come up with a bunch of younger rookie contract receivers or maybe pick somebody up in free agent. You don't need, all I'm saying is now does not seem like that's the most important thing when the Cowboys should be stockpiling these draft picks. Cowboys shouldn't be trading fours. They should be stockpiling fours. They should be getting rid of everybody that can get them more fours. And how about a couple of twos, maybe a one? My son has this. My son, who's a legitimate, he loves the Cowboys. My son has this plan where he wants to blow the whole goddamn thing up. He wants to trade Dak, and he's like, we'd get a number one for him. And I'm like, I think you might, but I don't know. He's like, we're getting a number one for Dak. We could get multiple number ones over multiple years for Micah. I'm like, you think so? Like, maybe. He's like, we could get number ones for Cito. We could go, and he's like, we could go into next year's draft with 5 first rounders. I'm like, that ain't gonna happen. But yeah, you could do that. But then also you got to be ready to suck for the next 2 years minimum. You got to be ready to like really suck next year. And then you'll get another like high first round pick. Yeah, that's why you got to get like multiple first rounds. Because if you do that, you're going to suck for 2 years. So like if you trade like you trade Dak, you want a first this year and a first next year. Here's why, because next year you're going to suck and your own draft pick could possibly be the number one pick in the draft. So you would also like to have another one from the team you traded with the year before. That's the Ryan Poles, Carolina Panthers trading number one pick. They take Bryce Young. We take an entire team. I don't know how you feel about it, Cowboy fans. I think it seems like a silly distraction right now. What's the other thing that I heard? Geez, I was watching Monday Night Football last night. DeAndre Hopkins was there. What did the Chiefs get? What did the Chiefs have to give up to get DeAndre Hopkins? It was like it was like a 6th or something, right? I mean, DeAndre Hopkins went for like a 5th or a 6th. DeAndre Hopkins to Patrick Mahomes. And the Super Bowl, Jerry Jones gets Mingo for a 4th. And as they said, the Cowboys gave up more for Mingo to acquire Mingo than they received when they got rid of Amari Cooper. So tell me again how Jerry Jones is a general man. I don't know, man. I don't like to be so mean to the elderly, especially when they're obviously struggling with the basic concepts of their chosen profession. All right, Cowboys trade. Let's see, what else do we have? Conor McGregor is in trouble, although not real trouble. This is why I kind of roll my eyes at this story. Conor McGregor's being dragged into court over there in Dublin. He raped a woman. He beat up a woman, and he raped her in a fancy penthouse, held her down, drugged her, gave her cocaine, all of this stuff. He did it back in 2018. And this is a civil case. I mean, Conor McGregor's an asshole. This is obvious. He's an asshole. I wouldn't want him dating my daughter. He's a jerk. I mean, he's a jerk. You want to talk about a narcissist, fucking dummy. He's a meathead. But it is what it is. He's a superstar celebrity and he gets to do things, but he's a fucking dummy, okay? So do I believe that Conor McGregor gets fucked up and then, takes club chicks back to some penthouse in Dublin at some fancy hotel and is like, come on, let's do it. Yeah. I imagine he's a fucking caveman. So if you're asking me, do I think Conor McGregor probably date raped? Because again, the distinction is you meet a girl in a club and you go back to a penthouse to party with like 50 other people. That's more in the date rape category, where you know your attacker, okay? So do I believe that that's possible? Yeah, absolutely. He's fucking Conor McGregor. He's a train wreck. Seriously, he's a total emotional train wreck. But, again, that question was, do I believe it? Yes, I believe. Yes, I believe he probably did this shit. He probably did it to a bunch of people that didn't bring charges, but this one did. But here's where I go, ugh. Where are the police? Where are the police? Because, the defense is it's a money grab. And in a situation like this, it's easy to go, well, it is obviously a money grab because she didn't bring these charges to the police. And that's what the case is going on in Dublin right now. Conor McGregor standing trial in a civil case for raping a woman in 2018. Here's the story. Let's see. Irish mixed martial artist fighter Conor McGregor raped a woman in Dublin hotel. The city's high court has been told. Nikita Ni Lamine. Let me tell you, this chick, this is like the most Gaelic name. It's like letters that we don't even use in our language. Anyway, her last name looks to be Lime. It's like 15 letters, but it's probably just pronounced Lime. Nikita Lime, spelled Laimmnhinn. There you go. That's Gaelic spelling. Nikita Lime is claiming civil damages. Civil, not criminal. She's claiming civil damages against Conor McGregor and another man alleging that she was assaulted in 2018. The fighter, nicknamed Notorious, was in court to hear Justice Alexander Owens tell the jury that it is alleged that Mrs. Lame was sexually assaulted by Mr. McGregor and another Mr. James Lawrence on December the 9th. The judge said that it is alleged that the pair had, in effect, raped her. The court was told Mr. McGregor collected Mrs. Lamb, a Dublin hairdresser. Hairdressers are the best to party with. Can I be honest with you? If you've been listening to me for years, this is a hard and a fast truth. If you're just looking to party, like you're like out in a club and you're like, let's party, and there's like a table of girls. If that table of girls are a bunch of hairdressers, you guys are fucking having fun. They always got drugs, or they always know where to get drugs, always have cash. I don't know if that's as important nowadays, but back then, always had a purse full of cash and drugs. They're always kind of hot, but also a little bit damaged looking. Yeah. You know who else is good to party with? Like just like a Friday night, you're in the clubs. Whoop, whoop. Again, this is going back 20 years. Chicks who work in banks, like bank teller chicks. Bank teller chicks. They also party hard. I don't know why. Because you know what? Here's why. Here's why I think. And I remember I told this to a bank teller chick once. I go, I think you guys party hard because you're not actually in the banking world. So you try to party like Wall Street bankers and stuff, but really you work at a teller at a Chase Bank off Lemon. You're not. Anyway, they party hard. The other category that parties really hard, hairdressers, chicks who work at banks, substitute teachers. Oh my God. If you're a substitute teacher and you're like 26, you are fucked up on a Wednesday night because you don't have to work. You are partying. You are going for it. All right, there you go. Those are the three categories. So anyway, the girl that's bringing the civil charges against Conor McGregor for rape at an after party in a Dublin penthouse hotel, she's a hairdresser. And all I'm saying is hairdressers are fun. It has nothing to do with the situation that happened. I'm just telling you, look, I dated a hairdresser for over a year. Mystery Girl. You guys remember Mystery Girl? She was a hairdresser. Her and her friends were nuts. Oh, they were wild. Fun as hell, though. Can't live that lifestyle forever. All right. So this way. So he met her in a club, or her and a bunch of hairdresser friends. Conor McGregor brought everybody back to the penthouse suite at this incredible Dublin hotel. They partied. Mrs. Lame claims that Conor dragged her into a room. You want the dirty details? It says, Mr. Gordon... here's the woman. She has a 7-year-old daughter. She had been out with friends on the night of the alleged incident when they met Mr. McGregor. Mr. Gordon said that Mr. McGregor was enormously famous and was considered a hero in Dublin. He said that his client was Gordon is the attorney for Conor McGregor. He said that his client was no angel and doesn't pretend to be an angel. Well, Yeah, because Connor's famous in the videotape. Right? We got viral video of him being no angel. We know that for a fact. The court was told that later in the night, Mrs. Lame and two of her friends returned to her salon, their hair salon, where they continued to party. And at some point, she reached out to Mr. McGregor. Okay, so you know how this happened. Okay, so they were at a club, whoop, whoop, partying with Conor McGregor. It's time to go home. Conor's probably got shit going on. He's running with a crew, and they're like, yeah, we got to go over to Bobby's or whatever. They're doing that. And the hairdresser chicks are like, whoop, whoop, girls' night, doing that. So they sort of, boop, they go in their divergent. They're in the club together, whoop, whoop, but then they go their separate ways. Party never stops for hairdressers. And they go back to the salon, the hair salon, and the girls are now at the hair salon, and they're whoop, whoop, partying. And this girl, I'm going to text Conor. I'm going to text him. Should you? No, don't text him. And there was that whole thing. So then she texts him, what you doing? And then he sends a limo over, and all the girls get in the limo, and they go to the penthouse party, and that's how it is. So there they are. Okay. So she was into it. These are people just partying. No excuse for rape, okay? I know that. Whatever happened, I'm not excusing. I'm just saying this is the environment that is occurring. Bunch of hairdressers from working class Dublin are going to like a 5-star Dublin hotel to party in the penthouse with the most famous man in Ireland, okay? It's just when you're a kid, you're a young girl, you do these things. You don't expect to be raped. You do these things. And all I'm pointing out is you do these things. Why? Because you're young and you don't think about what could happen. When you're old like me, you're like, you young lady, you're already fucked up. You probably shouldn't be going to Conor Notorious McGregor's penthouse hotel room at 3:00 in the morning to continue the party after texting him. You probably shouldn't, but what do I know? I'm a grown man. Something bad could happen. And she's like, no, he's sweet. You guys don't know him. He's sweet. Girls always do that. They're always sweet. You don't know him like I do. So she went, and something bad happened. Wouldn't want my daughter going. I'll just put it to you like that. Wouldn't want my daughter, and neither would you. Daddy, can I have permission to go party with Conor Notorious McGregor at his Dublin penthouse hotel suite at 4 a.m? Yes, dumpling, you can. No, who's going to say that? I mean, it's a sketchy decision. She went, and now she says something bad happened. She doesn't think something bad happened to the extent that he needs to go to jail or that she risked filing a false police report. But this is what's happening in Dublin. All right. So I'm sorry. Conor McGregor's worth almost $1 billion at this point. And so if you tell me that is a crazy Dublin hairdresser a bit dubious when she's not actually bringing police charges against him, yes, she is. So this is why this happens, because people just don't believe the victims. Slow your roll, sweetie. I always believe a believable victim. I just use my head. And I look at all of the context clues, and I try to come together. I try to come through with a thoughtful and well-considered and compassionate end result. And all I can do after reading this entire Conor McGregor rape case story is wonder, why aren't the police involved? Why is this just something that can be settled with a check? Is that not suspicious to you? I'm an ally to women, 100%. But I mean, come on, why aren't the police involved? It's gotten all the way to front page news in Dublin and in the UK, but somehow the police are involved. Not enough to warrant charges, but all right. Hey, how about this? This is a weird story. So probably last month at this point. Well, now, yeah, it definitely is last month, but probably a couple of weeks ago. We talked about Garth Brooks and how suddenly Garth Brooks got some troubles because he can't keep it in his pants. Garth Brooks, remember a couple of weeks ago, some lady's like, Garth Brooks raped me. And okay, so I don't know enough of the details there to really wax poetic on thoughts concerning that debacle. But I will tell you this. Apparently Garth Brooks has fucking fled the country. people just noticed. They're like, hey, where's Garth? He moved to Ireland. He's not an American anymore. He got the fuck out of here. When did he leave? I don't know. When did that story break about him raping the hairdresser? Because that was a hairdresser too. Remember, it was Trisha Yearwood's hairdresser that Garth Brooks hooked up with? Or maybe it was makeup artist. I don't know. Almost the same thing. Garth Brooks fleeing U.S. after being accused of sex abuse. This comes from the Daily Mirror. Garth Brooks has seriously been considering fleeing the United States for Ireland, where he owns property and has been spending an extraordinary amount of time recently. The country star, 62, shared with his wife, Trisha Yearwood, they're pushing hard to leave America and get a and establish full-time residence in the Emerald Isle. He wants out. There's no more details there other than that Garth Brooks story is weird, right? Because it should be a really big story. Maybe it's because it's election time. Maybe it was because World Series time, NFL football. I don't know. Is there too many other things that people are occupying their time with? Because the Garth Brooks story is pretty big. Garth Brooks is a major, major icon. I mean, and he's being accused of some pretty rough stuff. So that story kind of went away, right? I mean, did he write a check? He writes a check and suddenly she ain't talking. The accuser ain't giving any interviews to Entertainment Tonight. Ain't sitting down with, whomever you sit down with these days. Gail. She's not sitting down with Gail because she got a check to shut up, probably. Right? That's what, dude, when stories just disappear like that. Garth Brooks being accused of all these things was a big story. And then it went away. And that means she got paid. And now ain't nobody talking. So ain't nobody writing about it. And now Garth wants to go to Ireland. He's like, I just get out of this country. Should direct his attention to the Conor McGregor situation. If Garth thinks he's going to be safe in Ireland, he is in for a real surprise. There's a couple of hairdressers in Ireland who are trying to run Conor McGregor into the ground. Maybe Ireland ain't the best place for you and your sort, Garth. Clint Eastwood's girlfriend is dead, which is weird. He outlived his girlfriend, and considering his girlfriend is like 50 years younger than him. Clint Eastwood had a girlfriend, and now he doesn't. Now, ladies, Clint Eastwood is single again. Clint Eastwood, 94, reveals that he is devastated as his girlfriend, Christina Sendera, dies at just 61 years old. Clint Eastwood's longtime partner, Christina Sendera, has died. Clint, 94, has shared the tragic statement announcing the death of his beloved partner, Christina. The pair had been in a relationship since 2014, 10 years. Good. Who's Clint been with? I always, with all due respect, look here, I'm looking at a picture of, oh my God. Oh, look at this picture. Oh, okay. So this is what it is. I was just going to go on to a little rant about Clint Eastwood, but this is what it is. Okay, there she is. She's a lovely woman. There's Clint Eastwood, and that's his now dead girlfriend of 10 years, Christina. I was just going to say that Clint Eastwood was always interesting to me because when he was super famous, like back in the 70s and the 80s, and I was a little girl, and I was a little boy, I always looked at him, and I always thought Clint could do better with the women. He could do better. Clint never had babes. Clint always had like some chick that was, probably the hottest girl in Toledo, but Clint's a Hollywood A-lister. He shouldn't be with her. Sandra Locke comes to mind. Remember when Clint was like all serious with Sandra Locke and then he made her a movie star? I think he put her in those Any Which Way But Loose movies. Sandra Locke. She was like this super skinny, gaunt, sickly looking, long blonde haired lady. She had like this white, long blonde hair. Didn't look like she used conditioner. It was very flat, very 70s, very hippie. I don't know. I was a kid, was not turned on by Sandra Locke. Then he hooked up with some other chick who kind of looked like Sandra Locke. She wasn't hot either. And I'm like, Clint's got a new girlfriend. It's 1988. Who's he with now? And she was also not hot. I can't think of that chick's name. She's an actress. She's in a bunch of stuff. Can't think of her name either. She's an actress, but not hot. And then he's got this one. This one is another one. He's got a type. That's what it is. Clint's got a type. Clint likes skinny, gaunt blondes. Although I will say this woman here at 61 is prettier than I ever thought Sandra Locke was, or the other one that he was with. Anyway, Clint Eastwood, he lost his girlfriend. He's 94 years old. Boy, oh boy, think about that. Do you ever think that at 94 years old, you'd like be heartbroken because you lost your girlfriend at 94? Seems like something for 14-year-olds, not 94-year-olds. But all right, Clint Eastwood. Best thoughts go out there to Clint Eastwood. Azalea Banks is in the news. Do you guys know who Azalea Banks is? I mean, I know the name because I'm plugged into the pop culture. I know that she's a performer. I think that she's a singer, right? She's a pop singer, Azalea Banks. I know that a lot of people have boned her, or at least talk about boning her, right? Isn't that her reputation? I couldn't name a song, couldn't recognize her on the street. But anyway, Azalea Banks is making news. She made news last night. She has come out at the last minute and decided to endorse Kamala Harris. Azalea Banks. Who gives a shit, right? I'm like, what the fuck? Who cares? I don't know. Who are you? Loser? Well, apparently, here's why it's interesting. Because Azalea Banks, which I didn't realize, I didn't know, Azalea Banks had been a Trump supporter. That's right. Azalea Banks, at the last minute, has gone public on her socials, her formidable socials. Apparently, she's very socially relevant. She has gone on her socials, and she is now endorsing Kamala Harris. She is taking back her endorsement of Donald Trump. Now, why, oh, why, you must be thinking, would Azalea Banks have this change of heart? Is it because of something that Kamala said? Is it because of a stump speech that she heard, and it resonated in a way that no other speech? No, none of that stuff. None of that is why Azalea Banks had a change of heart. It's because Elon Musk is way too into Trump, and Azalea Banks doesn't like that. Azalea Banks switched from being a Trump supporter to a Kamala Harris supporter because, as she says, America can... Well, I'll read you exactly what she says, because I was freaking shocked that these are the words that came out of her mouth. I'm wondering if maybe she has a smart PR person, or maybe she's smart. Again, I don't know anything about her. But the tweet that she sent was worded very well. I mean, it was like a really nice, professionally done statement that had zingers, and specifically zingers to Elon Musk. Were they an item? Is that a thing? Is this like one of Elon's ex-girlfriends or something? Because she does not fucking like Elon Musk. Here's what she says. Controversial rapper, superstar Azalea Banks, I think we can tap the brakes on superstar, called Kamala Harris stupid and incoherent, but she's voting for her anyway. The 212 rapper, Banks, had previously stated that she was voting for Donald Trump because he's, quote, funny. That was her reason. I'm voting for Donald Trump because he's funny, y'all. I can see it. I can see that. I'm voting for Donald Trump because he's funny. But she seems to have changed her mind the day before the presidential election. In a rant on X, formerly known as Twitter, Azalea Banks shared her vote switch because of one of Trump's celebrity endorsers. That's right, Elon Musk. She hates Elon Musk. Elon Musk liking Trump is enough for Azalea Banks to be like, fuck it, I'm out. Here's what she says. I really think keeping Elon Musk away from any type of political power in the United States is tantamount to any issue on the table here, said Banks. That's a really smart observation. That's not a dumb, I used to be a stripper and then I started banging a record executive and now I'm a pop star tweet. That's actually, I think keeping Elon Musk away from any type of political power in this country is tantamount to any issue on the table here, least of which she uses tantamount properly. Anyway. So her biggest issue, she is a one-issue voter, and that issue is keeping Elon Musk away from the levers of power. That's the only thing Azalea Banks seems to care about. Now, why is this? It's like I said, did she date him or something? Does she know him? Let's investigate more. She goes on to say, you have to be a complete idiot to think that dirtbag cares about anyone or anything other than himself. That's her talking about Elon Musk. He's already been given way too much taxpayer money, Azalea continues. Allowing him to ascend to any position of political authority is very fucking dangerous. One does not become the richest man in the world because of honesty and good character. You must be an expert liar, thief, and cheater to become that, Banks says. Woo! Well, goddamn, girl! I mean, it's such a people are complicated. You think someone who would just cast their vote for Trump because he's funny would be a fucking idiot. But it turns out Azalea Banks can actually put a thought together in a tweet, if that's her. If that's her. If it's somebody else, if it's like her smart friend tweeting as her, whatever. But I mean, I'm not saying that they're smart. Like, look, smart people say things you can disagree with. It doesn't make it dumb because you disagree with it. I'm saying that she seems to be formulating thoughts in an effective manner in the social media medium. That's all I'm saying. And that's surprising to me because usually a lot of these celebrities are just like, I'm stupid, LOL. I really think keeping Elon Musk away from any type of political power in the United States is tantamount to any issue that's on the table, said Banks. You have to be a complete idiot to think that that dirtbag cares about anyone or anything other than himself. He's already been given way too much taxpayer money. Allowing him to ascend to any position of political authority is really fucking dangerous. One doesn't become the richest man in the world because of honesty and good character. You must be an expert liar, a thief, and a cheater to become that. Not the least of which to say, what kind of an emotional narcissist are you to want that? To keep going and keep grinding, to think that that's even, you are not a winner. You are a broken person. Your ego is completely out of control. I would add that. Azalea then slammed Elon for, quote, kidnapping his kids, taking photos of his ex-partner Grimes, having too many passports for my liking. That's my favorite one. Azalea Banks runs down a list of grievances that she has against Elon Musk, and one of them is, has too many passports for my liking. She's fun. She's come out. I don't know the first thing about this chick, but you better believe I'm going to go read her Wikipedia page. Azalea Banks is fun. She's like, I'll tell you another thing about Elon Musk. He's got way too many passports for my liking. I don't know what's going on there. I like her. All right, let's see. Says he has way too many passports for my liking and more, she said. The rapper then turned her rant to Donald Trump and how he keeps fucking with China. It's like that's her problem with Trump. Why is he fucking with China? I don't know. Do go on, Azalea. I'd be interested to hear. She hit out against the Democratic National Convention stealing the 2020 election. So she's a election thief person. Something that has never been proven, and she's also made transphobic comments against Americans? I don't know. The long-winded tweet ended. All right, here's how she ended Azalea Banks' big long-winded takedown of Elon Musk / why I'm voting for Kamala Harris tweet. Here you go. All right. It says she hit out against Democratic. Okay. The long-winded tweet ended. In conclusion, it's always the best. Whenever you're reading somebody's ramble, whenever you get to in conclusion, you're always like, all right, it's about time. In conclusion, I will be voting for Kamala Harris tomorrow because Elon Musk, a fucking overrated ketamine addict, belongs nowhere near American politics. The end. All right. Azalea Banks spitting hot fire. Let's back it up there, darling. Is she crazy? Like, is she a crazy person? Because like I said, I got to check out her Wikipedia page. Because if it turns out that she's been in and out of mental institutions since she's 15, because here's why I need to know this. I need to know because she just called the richest man in the world a ketamine addict publicly. She accused the richest man in the world of being a junkie publicly. You know, the richest man in the world has an entire office building in New York City filled with attorneys who sue people for slander and bullshit like this. Once again, this isn't an anonymous dude in Ohio talking shit on a computer about Elon Musk. This is Azalea Banks tweeting on his platform that's being picked up by many major news services. This is the Mirror in England. So it's going. So my point is this. If we don't know she's crazy, like if she doesn't have a history of being crazy and she's crazy, then she must know something. She must know that he is a ketamine addict. Because the only reason that she shouldn't be sued for slander is if he knows that she can prove that he is a ketamine addict, or that he knows that it's true and there's just no way to cover it up. I don't know. That is weird. Ketamine is what killed Matthew Perry. Ketamine is apparently the new drug everybody's talking about. Ketamine. It's not new. It's been around for a while. I believe in my day, it was called Special K. We ate it in a bowl with milk. Anyway, that's the Azalea Banks story. Don't know anything about her. Azalea Banks. Hold on. All right, I just Google searched Azalea Banks. First of all, let me take a look at her. Let me see, because it's the first time hearing. I don't know if she's hot or not. Let's see. She's pretty hot. I should share that with you. She's hot. All right, she's hot. But here's what I want to know. What's her deal? I got to go to her early life. I got to see how. She's born in Harlem, so she's American. That's good. I honestly did for a second. I know she's endorsing the American president. I thought for some reason she might be English. I don't know. Azalea Banks is an American rapper, singer, and songwriter raised in Harlem. She was born in 91. Early life, Manhattan Borough. She's the youngest of three. Single mother, was raised by a single mom. Father died of pancreatic cancer when she was 2 years old. I don't see any like health. All right, health. Here we go. Personal life, health. Does she have because you can't just accuse the richest man in the world of being a drug addict and not expect to have everything taken from you unless you can prove that. Because he's got the time to do it. In July, health issues. In July of 2016, Azalea Banks admitted to lightening her skin due to skin blemishes caused by her birth control regimen and defended the process of skin bleaching. All right. Okay, here we go. BuzzFeed News wrote, Banks has been frank about her own mental health issues. In 2020, we all have mental health issues. It's just whether or not we've taken the time to actually look into them and try and, work on them. So BuzzFeed wrote that she'd been frank about her own mental health issues. In 2020, during a plea deal in Manhattan court to avoid prison time, she was ordered to seek mental health treatment. British magazine Gal Dem reported that she has bipolar disorder. There we go. That explains the intellect. That explains the smart, the racing brain, and the I don't give a fuck if the richest man in the world sues me for lying about him being a ketamine addict. Bipolar disorder. See? I'm glad I clicked on the Wikipedia. Bipolar disorder. People with bipolar disorder, people tend to be incredibly smart. And they're like, what do you mean? You said she was smart. Now she's got bipolar. Yeah, motherfucker. People with bipolar disorder, their brains are going like at twice your speed. Trust me. They're doing shit. They're processing shit. Bipolar disorder is scary. I had another girlfriend who had that. She's a lovely woman, but also a very bright woman. But All right. There you go. Azalea Banks and Elon. All right. So the last thing I'm going to do here, guys, this is we'll end the show here with this. Got a little. What is this? Is this what journal? This is from one of the therapy sites that I subscribe to. I mean, I don't pay any money for it or anything, but it's like, I get stuff in my inbox. Thought this was interesting. Maybe we could go over it. It's a guide. It's a guide on ways to relieve your election night anxiety. Here we are finding ourselves election night 2024 in these here United States. A lot of you are anxious. Not me. I don't give a fuck. I'm serious. I'm just like, I got my popcorn popped and I'm just ready to watch. I'm ready to watch. I mean, I got my pick, right? Like we're picking football games. I got my pick. I think I know who's going to win, and that's my pick. Don't care. Don't really care. But some people do. Some people, I mean, I look, Barney earlier posted, I'm like, Jesus Christ, look at Barney go. Barney's like, dude, I'm going to have like 5 laptops up and I'm going to be watching. I'm like, hey, really? I mean, I get it. I understand it. I am just not that into either one of these people. I mean, I don't understand why. It's like, it's die cast. One of these two people are going to be president of the United States for the next 4 years. Like it or lump it. And, that's where we are. So if you are anxious about it, let's go through some of these things. These are some tips, I guess, to help you get through. Here's tip number 1. Don't focus on the outcome, you guys. Isn't that easy? There you go. Let's all go home. Okay, that's over with. Don't focus on the outcome. What kind of bullshit is that? So these are supposedly tips on how I can relieve my anxiety, my anxiety over the outcome of the election. And your first tip to me is don't focus on the outcome. That's some bullshit. That is nonsense. Come on. Why do you think we have anxiety? I have a question, Professor, who's doing this study. Professor, I have a question for you. What exactly do you think is causing us anxiety? Because I'm here to tell you, it is the outcome that is causing us. So you're saying don't focus on it? Gee, thanks. It's like telling somebody in a house fire, don't burn. Gee, thanks. Hey, your house is on fire. Step 1, don't burn. Okay, appreciate you. All right, let's see. Here's another tip. It says, remember that emotions wax and wane. There you go. I can get behind that. There's more here, but I guess what they're telling you is when it gets too weird, go jerk off. I think that's what they're saying. Let's go jerk off. Take a little break. Go in another room. Relieve yourself. Go into a fantasy world. Go do a little wax and wane. Tip 2, remember that emotions wax and wane. That's it. I can get behind that one. Here's another tip they got for you. Keep your mind in the moment. Okay, question, Professor. I have a question for you. So I'm keeping my mind in the moment. What happens when the moment is the reveal of the outcome that you've advised me to not pay attention to? What then, Professor? Keep your mind in the moment. It says here, research shows that most people's minds are wandering about 50% of the time. Channel your energy into what you're doing at the moment. When your attention is wandering, here's some tips for you. So if you're fuck this, here's what they want you to do. When you feel yourself getting anxious, they're suggesting that you take your feet and just feel your feet on the floor. Just press wherever you're sitting. Just press your feet into the floor. Find yourself in the moment. Oh, fuck you. Find yourself in the moment. How about I throw a fucking pint glass through the TV screen? How about that? That's another way of managing my emotions. Probably not the proper way, but all right. So keep your mind in the moment, they say. Once again, here are tips for managing your anxiety tonight as we watch election results come in. The first tip was really stupid. Don't focus on the outcome. Dumb. Second tip, of course, masturbate. It says, remember that emotions wax on and wane. That's a good one. Number 3 was keep your mind in the moment. And that's where we left off. Another tip they got here for surviving the anxiety of watching the elections. Find your balance, guys. Guys, can we all just gather around? Guys, I just want to ask you, guys. Guys, I'm going to need you all to find your balance. Because just find that. Just do it with me. Close your eyes. Just find our balance. Let's just everybody, just for a minute. I hate that kind of bullshit. Half the therapists, like, okay, so I have probably been to 7 different therapists over the last 25 years. 7 different. I've had 2 that are all-timers. 2 that are all-timers. 1 retired, 1 dead. Love you, Dr. Leslie. 2 all-timers. But the therapists that I never went back to were the ones who were like, let's just find our balance here. You're getting a little bit emotionally spun. Don't fucking talk to me in those kinds. Find my balance. Ugh. Anyway, here's the suggestion. Find your balance. Stick with habits that nurture your mental health. Nobody knows what habits nurture their mental health. There's like 15% of us out here. And it's only because we've gone through severe mental health challenges that we have developed these ways to manage. Nobody knows. Stick with those habits you've developed to nurture your mental health. Fuck you. That's a false, it's a false contention. People don't have habits to nourish their mental health. That's why people rage. That's why there's road rage. That's why people go off and like start fights in public with strangers. Nurture your habits. Here's what we need you to do. I'm going to need you to find your balance, and then we're going to go back and we're going to nurture those habits that we've developed to manage our emotional volatility. Excuse me, what habits? I'm a 55-year-old man. Well, maybe take the red hat off first. If you take the red hat off, I think maybe you'll be better. Find your balance. Oh, fuck you. Okay, so this is a nothing story. There you go, guys. I'm sorry to have wasted our time with that. There are no ways to manage the anxiety that is it's going to be all inclusive and all intrusive tonight, I promise you. Not for me, though, as I say. I'll be watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, eating a ham sandwich. That's what I got in front of me. I don't know. Somebody asked me, am I going to be doing a live stream? James Parker, WBAP, just started. I'm going to get off so you can go join him over there at WBAP. But he asked me, he's like, are you doing a live stream tonight for the election? I'm like, nah. I don't want this. Well, y'all wouldn't expect that from me, right? I mean, I don't want to fucking dwell in politics. I just want to start talking about other things. I want to get away from having these 2 glaring totems in our modern culture that are beacons for us to just hate the other person with. Oh, I'm standing behind the Kamala totem. You people behind the Trump totem, you're evil. I'll be happy when that's over. I'll just be happy when that's done. Other than that, yeah, I mean, don't follow me on Twitter and all that. I'm sure I'll have pithy one-liners. I'm sure that they'll be but I'm really not trying to be all about it. And neither should you. This isn't a fucking football game. This isn't a sporting event. This is how the sausage of America is made. It's ugly. It shouldn't involve rooting interests, but yet here we are. I don't know what to tell you. All right, once again, thank you so much to our executive producer here on today's show, the incredible Cam. Who will be tomorrow's executive producer? We will have to just check that out. Like, follow, subscribe, radiomisfits.com. Check them out for all of your podcast needs. Some incredibly good stuff. Nick DiGiulio's doing an awesome SNL podcast. I don't know if you guys have checked that out yet. It's called This Show Ain't Been Funny in Years. One of my current favorites. You should check that out. And that's it. We'll see you back here tomorrow, live from the E-Gallery, the beautiful Kelly Moore Memorial Studios. I am Pugs Moran. We're RadioMisfits.com. Have a great election night. Don't let it kill you. See you back here tomorrow at noon.